Well, the big idea behind multipliers is it starts with this observation that there's a lot of unused intelligence inside of our organizations. And by intelligence, I mean knowledge and skill and talent and capability. And that there's a lot of people who are coming to work busy but bored, and that they're underutilized, and a lot of managers don't see and use the talent around them. And the idea behind multipliers is that some leaders seem to see that and use that better than others. They use their own intelligence and capability in a way that really invites, if not demands, the full intelligence and capability of people around them. That these leaders, instead of diminishing the capability of people around them, they bring out the very best. They are the multipliers or amplifiers to the intelligence of their team. You know, I think there are a lot of people who are accidental leaders, that they're just pursuing the path of least resistance in their career, or a monetary path, or a path of visibility or power. And often when they get into leadership positions, they haven't developed a reason for being there, and they haven't developed a personal leadership philosophy, and they tend to default to whatever leadership has been in their environment. And often they end up becoming diminishing leaders to others because that's what they've seen, know-it-all, tyrannical kinds of bosses, or they become very mediocre leaders because they've never really been students of leadership themselves. I actually find that the best leaders are people who are very intentional about their leader, and they either had early in their career a phenomenal boss, or they had a terrible boss. In fact, I find sometimes the best leaders are those who were fortunate enough to have a disaster, terrible, toxic boss in their youth of their career. You know, there is a theme that connects all of my work. My work is really centered around contribution. And how do we build organizations that are what I call high contribution organizations, meaning organizations where people are contributing at their very fullest. And there's a leadership aspect to that. We need these multiplier leaders who multiply the intelligence of the team, but we also need to study the art of contributorship, and that's actually what I'm working on now. What is it that the contributor does that creates an environment where they can give all of their capability, all of their intellect, and have maximum value inside the enterprise? Well, I think if there's a golden thread to the challenges that we're going to face over the next decade, it's probably going to be around adaptability and agility, and how do we manage change on a macro level? How do we manage change on a very personal level? You know, what do we do once a lot of the work that we've typically done is being done through machine learning and AI and robots? And so how do we adapt at the organizational level, at the team level, which is really one of the key jobs of middle management, and at a personal level? Like, how do we maintain a certain set of values and principles and culture so we have a bedrock inside an organization, but then how do we know what to throw away? It's like every homeowner's worst nightmare. It's like, what do you keep and what do you throw away? I think that's the skill that we're going to need to be developing over the next 10 years. I sure hope business can be a force for good. I think we're seeing a diminishing of the capability of so many of our government organizations, so many of the nonprofits that we've historically looked to for justice and to do good in the world. And I'm seeing more and more that position in our society is being filled by businesses that have become agents of change and carrying a social agenda along with their work. And so, can businesses be a force for good? I sure hope so. I think they're becoming the force for good. I think I have two messages for the next generation of business students. Is number one, as you go into the workforce, I would be really skeptical about a lot of the career advice you're being given. I find that the most valuable contributors aren't these passionate people who are trying to drive change in the organization. I find the most valuable contributors are the people who listen to what's going on, they spot needs, and they find a way to be useful. They adapt themselves to what's happening around them. Rather than trying to get the organization to adapt to them, they're essentially making themselves useful. I would also encourage people coming out of business schools to not buy into the cult of self, to really come into the enterprise with a service attitude. And I find that people who have this more selfless service attitude are people who end up in really powerful positions, which might help an organization be a force for good. That's one. And second is, as you take on leadership roles, just be the kind of leader that you would want to work for. And that's probably half of the management training you need right there. Thinkers 50 to me is all about a community of people who are doing good in the business world, helping the business world adapt and change, and helping organizations be successful. But Thinkers 50 is also about creating the kind of workplace that we all want to work for. And this is my 4th time here at Thinkers 50, and I find it's a community that helps me do better thinking and helps me take my thinking in bigger and broader ways. So I really do see Thinkers 50 as not just a list of people and an aggregation of thinking. I really do see it as a force for good.